So we're going to start with Raymond Buckley, who is the Democratic Chair of the New Hampshire Democratic Party. He was a state representative in New Hampshire House of Representatives and again currently chair of the Democratic Party. Raymond Buckley.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Let's give Crystal, I know we're not supposed to clap. Let's give Crystal a big round of applause. Are you guys ready to fight back? Yes. Are you sick and tired of losing elections?
Yes.
No. Are you sick and tired of realizing that the folks in Washington think they win elections, not us? The people in our communities win elections, not the people in Washington, and we need to flip this party upside down. Now, I got the political bug real early. I was 8 years old when I first started organizing my first canvass because I, in 1968, was so distraught in third grade with the assassinations of Martin Luther King Jr. and Bobby Kennedy that I started volunteering. At age 18, they waited until I was 18, I was elected my county chair. And I've spent every single day of my adult life as a member of my state central committee. I'm in my fifth term as the New Hampshire State Party Chair, longest person ever elected, and I served 4 terms as chair before that, and I was executive director. That's why I make sure you give lots of respect and love to Crystal. I served 18 years in the New Hampshire House where I was the Democratic whip. Every single minute of that was in the Republican majority. The Republicans were in the majority. Now, for the last 8 years, I've served as president of the State Chairs Association. That means that the 57 states and territories got together, the chairs and the vice chairs, and they elected who their leaders should be. 4 times. Nobody's ever been elected 4 times. I've been elected 4 times as president of the ASDC, representing the grassroots of the party, the officers. I am the only officer of the Democratic National Committee that was not pre-selected. I'm the only one that actually had to run for office and represented your vote and your voice. Now, that's sort of my background, but my record is, when I was growing up in New Hampshire, it was a solid Republican state. People didn't even come here and campaign in the general election. It didn't matter. In the 10 years I've been chair, we've won 11 out of 13 statewide races. We've won all 3 of the presidential elections. We have 2-year terms for governor. We've elected 5 out of the last 6. The presidential, 3 out of the 4 U.S. Senate seats and 9 out of 12 congressional seats. I know how to win. It's not about being on TV, folks. It's about getting into the communities. We need to invest into the communities, not more television ads. They take a few states, they send $100 million worth of TV ads in, and they think they're winning elections. Guess what? They're not winning elections. If you wanted to hear more about my plans, rayfordnc.com. First thing that we've got to do is we've got to address the elephant in the room, or the 800-pound gorilla, whatever you want to talk about. We have got to look at what we did in this nominating process, because if we do not address it and fix it, we have lost millions of voters. They either voted for Jill Stein or wrote in Bernie Sanders or simply didn't vote.
No.
Neutrality. I was the chair of the New Hampshire Democratic Party during both the 2008 and the 2016. Nobody suggests. You ask Bernie Sanders, you ask Hillary Clinton, you ask Dennis Kucinich, you ask anyone that ran for president if I was not 100% neutral and 100% fair. In fact, when my Secretary of State said, Bernie Sanders is not a Democrat, you can't appear on the ballot, I took him to the Ballot Law Commission. I had his name put on the ballot. And just to make sure, when Bernie went to file in December, I went with him to the Secretary of State's office and made sure that the Secretary of State actually accepted his papers in front of the national press, because I wanted to make sure that the voters of New Hampshire had a choice. That's what being neutral is all about. Now, the debates. It should not be up to one person or his or her staff to decide the schedule, the timing, and who gets to participate. My reform is it goes to the executive committee of the DNC. There's over 40 members representing people from all across the country. Same with the joint fundraising agreement. Personally, no more in a primary. I would not, if I was chair of the DNC, I would not sign a joint fundraising agreement ever again. It's up to the states if you want to do that, but no more if there's in a primary. It is too much. Reforming the superdelegate system. The votes at the convention need to reflect the votes of the state. We've got a unity commission. The next chair has the votes to make an appointment to that commission. They will swing the votes. make sure that everyone is committed to reforming the system. And the caucus system is going to be looked at by the Unity Commission too. I 100% support that. It was very confusing for a lot of voters around the country that get their information online. In one state, independents can vote. One state, only Democrats can vote. One state, you're there for a whole day. Another state, you're there for 5 minutes. Let's get these rules all together so we can work together. Democratic National Committee. For those of you who are on the Democratic National Committee, you know the dirty secret. We don't know what the hell's going on in that building. I've been one of the 5 vice chairs of the DNC. I know no more about the operation, the governance of the DNC than anybody else in this room. That's got to stop. The membership of the DNC needs to be engaged, involved. The officers do, the executive committee. We need to clean our own house up. Now, how are we going to do this? So first, clean up the mess. Second, rebuild. I offered a 15-point program. And it's on my website and my Facebook page on how to strengthen state parties. As I said, I've been involved in state parties my entire life. I think this 15-point program, and it is for every single state, not the battleground states, not the blue states, not the reds, it's for every state, and it adds a lot of incentives for even further growth. We need to be in every neighborhood and in every community. My proposal is that the DNC partners with the state parties and local committees, and we have a permanent Democratic headquarters in every single congressional district across the country. Every single congressional. We need to get back into the neighborhoods. We need to start talking to people again. I believe that if we reach out and we actually have, this is the lesson we learned in New Hampshire. 2014, 2016 were not good years for Democrats, especially in the battleground states. New Hampshire, purple state, both times we won U.S. Senate races, both times we did better with get out the vote. How did we do that? Because of the investment that we've made in the local committees and the communities. It has a direct impact. We have a very small state physically and population-wise, so everything's all the same, but why is one community significantly higher turnout than another community? It had to do with the amount of local people talking to local people. But we don't get investments for that. We have to raise every penny for that, because the people who are in Washington think that the way to do it is add another TV ad for $10,000. Can you imagine if just a small percentage of that money was actually invested in hiring local people to talk to the people in their community, whether it's the Latino community or into the African American community or the LGBT community or in the millennials? They need people that they understand. The results were clear in New Hampshire, and that's why we started doing it ourselves. We are also the only battleground state that said hell no to Hillary's campaign. Hillary's campaign said, oh, we're just going to send you who you're going to get out the vote. We're like, no, we're going to talk to them first. That's why Hillary won New Hampshire. Well, all those other battlegrounds went down. We ID'd our people. You've read the stories. How many states pulled out Donald Trump voters because they didn't bother to talk to them for the first time? This is absolutely absurd. Okay, I know. All right, I see you. Listen, our message is simple. It's the same message that we've always had. We just forget to talk about it. It is about hope and opportunity. We offer hope and opportunity to every single American. We are the party that represents the 99% of Americans. We can send that message to every community. We don't have to say, oh, we got to stop talking to the African American community because we got to talk to the white working class community. Oh, we got to stop talking to the seniors because we got to talk to the millennials. We can talk to all of them. We can talk to all of them. It is about hope and opportunity. And let me tell you one thing, the New Hampshire Democratic Party, why we've been successful, we don't pull any goddamn punches. And Donald Trump and the Republican Congress and every Republican governor and Republican majority in the House needs to know the Democratic Party is alive and well and will hold them accountable for every sleazy thing that they do. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chairman Buckley. Next we have Keith Ellison, who is your representative.
Good to see you guys. somewhere in Texas right now, there is a little girl wondering whether the detention squad is going to take her parents away. Somewhere in this country, there's somebody in their 50s, maybe 60s, who's got about $3 grand in the bank and doesn't know how they're going to make it on Social Security alone, especially while people are threatening to privatize it. Somewhere in the Midwest, there's somebody thinking, man, will the plant close? If it does, what are we going to do? And somebody's loved one is hooked on opioids, maybe died. Let me tell you, somebody's son or daughter might have got roughed up or even shot by the police. Who's going to be the agent for them? Who's going to say to that Muslim family, you know, we're not going to let nobody register you. If they try to register you, they're going to register us too. We stand together. We are united. We come together and we are going to stand together, and the Democratic Party must be that agent. Think about this, friends. We had the first woman nominee for a major party, and we didn't win that election against the most sexist and misogynistic person who's ever run for that seat. This is hitting people right in the heart. But somebody has got to be the one to stand up and fight for Americans. And I tell you, the Democratic Party is not for the Democrats. It's for the American people. And the Democratic Party has got to be that agent to stand up for economic justice for all and everyone, and it's got to stand up for everybody's human and civil rights. We don't have to pick, we got to do both. Now, let me just tell you, why am I running for chair of the DNC? I did not wake up the day after the election and say, hey, why don't I start working on being the chair of the DNC? The truth is that I've been working on voter turnout for literally years. I found out years ago that instead of just saying, let's go skip the red areas, skip the blue areas, let's go to the swing areas and only talk to likely voters, I've learned long ago that that was a losing strategy. That's why, I've been in elections. I've stood for elections 8 times and never lost. But more than that, I've helped Democrats win all over this country. And if being the chair of the DNC means getting Democrats elected, I believe that I'm uniquely qualified for that job. In my district, I used to have the lowest turnout in the state of Minnesota in 2006. Now we have the highest turnout. How do we arrive at that? Well, one, we turn on during the off year. We don't just campaign during the election year. 2, we go to the grassroots. We knock doors, we have telephone calls, we have conversations. In the summer of 2015, just the summer, only the summer, we had 9,000 conversations. And people say, well, Keith, you're in a safe seat. Why are you doing all that campaign? Because if I don't, Mark Dayton, our governor, would not win. Amy Klobuchar and Al Franken would not win. And our 4 other statewide officers would not win. We're blue all at the top, you guys, and it's because in the 5th district, we turn out the vote. And that is exactly what's going to happen in this country if you elect me as chair of the DNC. But don't think I'm going to do it by myself. Nobody ever could. It will be you on the ground. Just like you guys got out there in Bexar County and in Harris County and really kicked some tail this last election. You know what? I'll give 10 seconds for them to give themselves a hand if y'all want to. I just want to tell you that the nation saw you do that, and we are incredibly proud of you. And I'm telling you, the day when people come into Texas and raise money and take it all out of Texas must end. We got to invest in Texas. We need money in Texas. Now, I want you to know I got a document here which lays out in fine detail the work that we are going to do. But it's not that I'm just telling you what I'm going to do. We've done the work. We've actually achieved what we are telling you we want to do. And I just want to let you know that I talked to a lot of good friends. I talked to a lot of friends, and a lot of them have told me, Keith, this is early on when I got in the race. Keith, if you want to be DNC chair, we need you to be full-time. Well, the last chair wasn't, so I thought, well, should I have to? After listening to you, I came to the conclusion that I did have to. And so I will be a full-time. I will leave my job as a member of the United States Congress and be your chair full-time if you elect me. Now let me just tell you this. I'm not a guy who doesn't have a job and looking for one. I have a job that I love, but I'm willing to leave it because it is just that important. Those people who I mentioned when I first started talking to you desperately need that kind of person fighting for them 100% of the time, 365 days a year. Now let me tell you, it's been my pleasure to campaign with you right here in Texas. Gilberto Hinojosa and I know we campaigned right here in Texas. He knows. And I tell you who else knows. A young woman by the name of Sarah DeMerchant. Where she is? There she is. That young woman got into a race where people told her, you can't win, forget about it. You're wasting your time. Well, guess what? She went up from 36% of the last one to 44% this time. She increased the vote by 7,000%. And you know what, sir? If you keep on knocking on the door, you're going to win that race. And this is the kind of campaign we're going to do. I'm not just coming to Texas to help people run for Congress. We're talking about state representative. Do you know we have lost 935 state representative seats in this country since 2008? Something has gone wrong, folks. We got to revitalize the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party must be the party where working people of all backgrounds feel that that is the one that's going to fight for us. The Democratic Party is going to fight for us, and we have got to be the people who make it so. You know, I'm very proud that we had 1 million people on a live stream Wednesday night with Our Revolution. 1 million people turned out. Why did they turn out? Because they are hungry to get out there. But you know, right here in Texas, we got 336 people who signed a petition to help support me to be DNC chair. Why do I point this out to you? Because it will require the grassroots energy in order for us to succeed. It is going to require people in every county of this state, all of the counties in this 245 counties in Texas, to get out there and move this agenda. And yet 50 state strategy? Absolutely. But what about a 3,141 county strategy? We got to get granular, folks. We got to get to the root, because we got to get to the resource. We got to get the resources closest to the voter. Closest to the voter. Because last time I heard, elections are won by getting out more votes than the other side. Not spending more on TV ads than the other side. Some people think GOT means go on television. Let me tell you, it should mean getting out the vote. But we're gonna be getting out the vote 365 days a year with conversations and literal relationship building, so that people know and trust the Democratic Party to fight for them. Now I just want to tell you, right now in North Carolina, when we win, we still got to fight. You all saw how we win the gubernatorial election, and they're still trying to undermine the government. This is why I got out there and hit them on that and criticized them for that. It's not just going to be dealing with federal stuff. It's going to be state stuff. It's going to be county stuff. It's going to be city stuff that we are all unified fighting together. Now, I just want to tell you this. I was very proud to go to 7 states for Hillary Clinton. She is a great and honorable public servant, and I was proud to campaign for her. I was also very proud to campaign for Bernie Sanders. I'm telling you right now that I am a unity candidate who will bring all of our factions together, who will honor the people who have been here serving our party for years and years and years, but also welcome in the new energy that we absolutely got to have to win these elections. We need both. We can't have one or the other. We got to have institutional memory and energy and fresh ideas. We need all of that. And I will work with all of my fellow candidates in this race. We are all friends, guys. We are all cool. We are all tight. And no matter who wins this race, we're all going to support each other. And so you all need to be pushing for unity constantly and thinking about creative ideas that we can rouse up the grassroots, so 2018 can be the brand new year where we start the new Democratic Party that is grassroots, that is active, that is engaged, and that is ready to fight for all Americans, no matter who you are or where you come from. We are on your side, and you can trust the Democratic Party to fight for you. Thank you. I love you guys, and I ask for your vote.
is the Idaho Democratic Party Executive Committee Director. She is a leader on statewide races in Idaho and president of the Association of State Democratic Executive Directors, Ms. Sally Brown.
Man, Keith, I could listen to you talk all day long. You could have gone on past that 10 minutes. You're super inspiring. I am so excited to be in Texas today. I announced my candidacy yesterday. I found out about this forum about noon and got on a flight and flew all night. I have one piece of business before I talk about myself, and that is that as an executive director in Idaho, I know that it takes money to put on these type of affairs. So I want to challenge all of the other candidates in the race to post on your websites and your Facebook pages, ask for the Texas Democratic Party. I did that when I landed at 5 a.m. this morning. We've got to make sure that our state parties have the resources that they need. And I believe in putting my money where my mouth is. So candidates in the room, I put that challenge in front of you. I am not a typical candidate, so I'm not going to sound like a typical candidate. The reality is that I've been doing the hard work in Idaho and at the national level and trying to figure out some really big problems. As I go through the country talking to paid professionals who are much smarter than I am, I ask big questions. And most of the time I find that people are overwhelmed with the questions that I ask. One of the things that's really important to me is that we look towards the future and we figure out how we build a 21st century party that is full of energy, that has the resiliency and the innovation to be able to look at the changing realities of our society. We have 50% of the country who didn't vote in this election. And I love that I heard one of the committee reports saying that we're going to talk to the folks in Texas who didn't vote. That's exactly what we need to be talking about. Why didn't they vote? I can guarantee that it is not the same reason for that whole group of people. They all have different reasons, but we need to be having that conversation. And we need to be creating a party that answers whatever we hear back from them. We need to be thinking about the big questions that are out there, the really big problems, and there's a ton of them, so I won't go into them. You guys think about them every day. You're on the grassroots, doing the hard work. I went this morning to sit in on your committees because I believe a DNC chair needs to be down with the people doing the work. The leadership style that we've had for decades, it's what I call old power versus new power, which is, I think, the conversation that we're having in our society, where you have a leader at the top and you have people underneath, is not going to work any longer for this society that we live in. We need to have a flat structure where everybody is involved in not just the work that needs to be done, but the ideas and the decisions that need to be done. So one of the things that you're going to see from me in the next 2 months is engagement at the grassroots level, but in a very different way. I'm going to be asking people to join me via my Facebook page and my website, WeTheDNC.com, or We the DNC on Facebook, and create work groups and decide on what they feel like the top 10 big questions are that we need to be answering, so that 40 years from now, we are the strongest party in this country, and we've figured out how to get the 50% of Americans who aren't voting to participate in democracy at every single level. I'm going to take those 10 questions and I'm going to welcome people to create work groups. And over the course of the next 2 months, I'm going to have those folks work in those work groups, trying to brainstorm at least a process on how we start answering some of these questions. We can't just focus on the next 2 years, the next 4 years. Those are important. And I think that we have to depend on our state parties to be able to do that work. You guys have done amazing work in this state. You should be a template. A lot of your programs should be a template to get out to the other states for what's happening. You know how to do that work. We can easily at the DNC get resources, create a strong partnership to be able to empower states to do the election work for the 2 years and the 4 years in their states. We also need to be creating some leadership to be able to take on some of the problems that are facing our society at the bigger level, and not the ideological problems. We have had a great debate over what we are as Democrats, whether we're liberal, whether we're moderate, and we know that we've been a big tent. We're for the people. We've always been for the people. Nobody in here thinks the exact same thing, and that's a beautiful, wonderful thing. So let's take that diversity, the diversity of thought, the diversity of the people that we have in the party, and put them to work. get the great brains in our party together talking about some of these overwhelming problems rather than just focusing on one step in front of us at a time. We can't afford to do that any longer. If we continue to do that, 20 years from now, state parties will be obsolete. There's too many issues that are facing us today to be able to afford to do that. And this is the perfect time to do it. I am sorry, but the problems that have flicked us right now did not suddenly appear on November 9th when we all woke up that morning shocked. And you guys had some great things to celebrate while you were also shocked, so good for you. They have been here, right? So we need to take this as an opportunity to get excited and get passionate and really go after them. So that's what I'm all about. You can read more on WeTheDNC.com about my bio and the things that I've done for state parties. And I just appreciate you putting this forum together. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Next we have Jaime Harrison, who is the South Carolina Democratic Party Chair. He was Director of Floor Operations and Counsel for former House Majority Whip Representative James Clyburn and is Chairman of the South Carolina Democratic Party.
Texas!
Well,
South Carolina in the house. It's good seeing all of y'all. Thank you for having me, Mr. Chairman, Vice Chair Phillips. This is amazing. Thank you for putting this together, and thank you for having all of us be out here. I want to give a special shout out to Susan Shelton. Where's Susan? Susan, thank you so much. As soon as this was announced, Susan sent out a tweet saying, "Oh, yeah, can't wait to see you." And I just want to thank her and the Texas Federation of Democratic Women who are doing outstanding work here in Texas. And Susan and some of the members were actually down in Charleston, South Carolina. If y'all haven't been to Charleston yet, you need to come. And she can tell you about it. We got grits and shrimp and all that good stuff, so make sure you come down. But they've been doing some amazing work. And a little bird told me that you guys are about to celebrate the 50th anniversary. 30th anniversary here in Texas. So congratulations on that. I hope that all of our federations of Democratic women across the country can have as much success as you guys have had here in Texas. So thank you. Guys, I want to thank all of you. Thank you for putting your hearts and soul on the line in this past election. I know many of you are probably just like me, still sick. And, I still walk around thinking that I'm just in some type of nightmare and I'm eventually going to wake up. I remember the day after the election. I have a 2-year-old at home. His name is Bean. Well, his name is William, but we call him Bean. And every morning he says, "Mommy, Daddy, where are you?" And so I have to go to the crib and pick him up, and I bring him into the bed with us. And so on the election day, the day after the election day, my wife and I were in the bed. I go and get him, and he looks at me, he looks at her, and he says, "Mommy, Daddy sad." And I said, holding back tears, "Yes, buddy, we're sad." I was crushed. And I wasn't crushed just because Hillary lost, or that Donald Trump won. I was crushed because of the future of this country for the next 4 years, and the impact that it would have on my son, who is the light of my life. The impact that it would have on my grandmother, who raised me. The impact that it would have on my mom. When thinking about what went wrong, over the past 2 years, there's been a lot of things about people feeling as if they have not been heard. Feeling as if though that they or the folks that they love don't matter. From the Black Lives activists going into the streets saying Black Lives Matter, to Latinos, those who have come to this country and may be undocumented, and those whose parents are children who are here, feeling as if they don't matter. To the folks in the LGBT community, LGBTQ community, fighting for their right to love who they want to love, feeling as though they are under attack. To Native Americans, the first Americans, feeling as if there's no one fighting for them.
It used to be that the Democratic Party was the party that fought for all of us. It used to be that people could go to the Democratic Party and could go to its elected officials when they had issues and problems in their lives. But now what they get from us, they get TV ads and pieces of mail and radio spots. They no longer have that connection, that conduit. My friends, we have to fundamentally transform the Democratic Party. We can't just be the party that goes and begs for votes every 2 and every 4 years. We have to become a community party, a community organization that goes into the communities, helping people address the day-to-day issues that they're battling with. We lost that connection to the people, and we have to rebuild that. And the first way that we do that is we have to invest in our state parties. Howard Dean in 2006 came up with the 50-state strategy. And what happened in 2006? He fought tooth and nail with Rahm Emanuel and Chuck Schumer, who all they wanted was for the DNC to send them a check so that they can put more TV ads on it. But Howard Dean said, no, we can't do that. Because it's just not about the battleground states or the targeted states. It's about all of the states. Because you know what? Even the red states send 2 U.S. senators to Washington, D.C. Even the red states send at least one member of Congress to Washington, D.C. And all of those people enact laws that impact all of us, regardless if we're in a blue state or a red state or a flyover state. We have to go back to understanding that all state parties in all states matter. And we have to invest again in our state parties. We haven't done it. We got drunk when we off of the idea that we were able to elect Barack Obama in 2008. And we got rid of almost Howard Dean's efforts in 2006. And we were still drunk in 2012 because we were able to win again. My friends, we can't be the Democratic National Presidential Committee. We have to be the Democratic National Committee, fighting for those people not just on the top of the ballot, but all of those fighting the good fight for Democrats on the bottom of the ballot also. That is what we have to get back to. That is where our heart is. It is those people working on the front lines that have more impact on the day-to-day lives of our voters than the person that sits in the White House at 1600 Pennsylvania. When we talk about voter suppression laws, when we talk about things like voter ID and all of these other efforts to curb our rights, those things are happening on a local level. Yet the DNC does not coordinate, does not invest in those folks on a local level. We have to change that. We have to transform that. But what we need, my friends, and I know, we get caught up. What we fundamentally need, we need someone who understands how state parties operate, but also understands how Washington, D.C. operates as well. I believe I can do that. Now you guys are asking, well, who's this guy? He's a big, bald-headed, black guy with a big head, big smile. Well, let me tell you a little bit about who I am. I'm Jaime Harrison. I'm the chair of the South Carolina Democratic Party. I've been the chair of the South Carolina Democratic Party now for 3.5 years. Was the first African American to ever chair the party in South Carolina and the youngest. I'm 40 years old. But despite my age, I've had a lot of experience. I worked in Washington, well, and just a little background. My mom had me in rural South Carolina when she was 15 years old. Had to drop out of high school, and my grandparents took care of her. I was the first in my family to go to college. Blessed, went to Yale University. While at Yale, studied hard, did the good work, and then went back home to South Carolina to teach high school, and then went to Washington, D.C. And Congressman Clyburn gave me an opportunity. He said, you're a young guy, but you work hard, you have vision. And he made me executive director of the House Democratic Caucus at the age of 29. First African-American, youngest person to ever do that. And then we took the House back in 2006, and I worked in the whip operation. I was the guy who made sure that we had 218 votes to pass legislation to get us out of the Iraq War in order to have the Matthew Shepard, James Byrd hate crimes law. I was the guy to get those votes in order to do that at 30 years old. And then went back home to South Carolina to help transform my red state. We are building a new organization in South Carolina. We're setting the platform for winning. And that's what we all need to do. I started a political fellowship called the James E. Clyburn Political Fellowship, named after my mentor. And what are we doing? We are training 250 young people. 250 young people that aren't a part of the Young Democrats, who weren't really involved, but they're representing all 46 counties in South Carolina. And they're going to be the next generation of candidates, the next generation of county party chairs, the next generation of campaign operatives. We need to make sure that the next person who is the DNC chair has a vision and understands how state parties operate and can invest in it. I can do that because I've been doing it in South Carolina. And so I'm just so excited to be here with all of you. I'm excited for you to learn more about who I am. I know I got a secretary and a congressman and Ray and Sally and learn who we are because we're fighting the good fight on behalf of the Democratic Party. So again, thank you so much for having me here today. I look forward to having conversations with you over the course of the next few months. Thank you.
Okay, we're down to our last candidate. We have the Honorable Tom Perez, who was a civil rights lawyer, a local elected official, and served in the Obama administration. Tom Perez.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Buenas tardes. I'm Tom Perez, and I wish I were 40 years old. Who wishes they were 40 years old? Raise your hand. It's the new 40, whatever you are. Thank you, Jaime. Thank you to all the other candidates. This is a wonderful conversation among family members because the Democratic Party is a big tent. And our big tent, our diversity is our greatest strength. And that is why I'm so excited to be here with you today. Because you know what, folks? This is one of those, and I've got 3 kids, 20, 18, and 14, and I've said to them, there are moments in our nation's journey, that journey, the timeless journey to form a more perfect union. There are moments, John, where I call them the where were you moment. You know, someday when your children or grandchildren, or you're 75 years old, or you're 20 years down the road, they're going to ask you, you know, in 2016, when we were at that moral fork in the road, in this country, where were you? Because we are at that fork in the road. I firmly believe that e pluribus unum still means something in this country. I still believe that somos los Estados Unidos, no somos los Estados divididos. We are the United States of America, not the divided states of America. And that is why I believe that this election to be the head of the DNC is one of the most important elections in our party's history. Because we need a leader who can motivate people, inspire people, speak to the big tent that is the Democratic Party, can make sure that they know how to run a complex organization. And that is what this choice is about, and can articulate that vision in all 50 states. The territories, the District of Columbia. And that is why I'm running, my friends. Because you know what? I have spent my entire life asking the question, how can I make the biggest difference in the most people's lives? That's how I've spent my entire life. And I want to tell you very briefly a little bit about myself. Why I'm running. Why I believe I could do this job well. And then I want to make sure that I get your input in the weeks ahead, in the days ahead. Because you know what, folks? If there's one thing I've learned from running having the privilege of running the Department of Labor and the Civil Rights Division at DOJ before that, and the Maryland Department of Labor, it's that good leaders are good listeners. Good leaders build an inclusive table of opportunity. Good leaders have a vision. And good leaders develop that vision in collaboration with others, not coming down on others. That's been my whole life. I'm Buffalo Dominican. I grew up in Buffalo, New York. My parents came there from the Dominican Republic. They moved there because of the weather. Very similar weather patterns between Santo Domingo and Buffalo. And once they figured out they needed snow tires, it was a brave new world for my parents. But you know what, folks? I was 12 years old when my dad died. And my surrogate father, my dad died June 29th, 1974. My surrogate father died June 29th, 2007. And his wife, my surrogate mother, died June 29th, 2010. You'll never be able to convince me that was a coincidence. And my parents taught me that you should always leave the ladder down for others, because they had to leave the Dominican Republic to flee a brutal dictator. This was the land of opportunity. And my surrogate father was a Teamster. He taught me the importance of the union movement. He taught me that when unions succeed, the middle class succeeds. When unions succeed, companies succeed. When unions succeed, families succeed. And when unions succeed, America succeeds. Those were the lessons I learned in my youth. And when my dad passed away, you know what? I felt like $1 million. Even though we didn't have $1 million. And thank God for Pell Grants. Thank God for jobs, whether it was working on the back of a trash truck or working, picking up golf balls. You should wear a helmet when you do that. And working at Sears. That's how I got through school. And I had the privilege of going to some of the best schools. And with that privilege comes responsibility. And my entire life has been about fighting for progressive values. And not just dreaming progressive values, but living them and doing them. Because this is about not only who has the vision, but who has the capacity to carry out that vision. And I've had the privilege of working at the Department of Justice. Texas is the Full Employment Act for the Civil Rights Division of the Department of Justice. I'm here to tell you that. I know a lot about the state of Texas because we sued you left and right. We sued you because when you did redistricting, it was intentionally discriminatory. You were trying to make it harder for black people and Latinos to vote. That's what you were doing, and you all know that. And we sued you on your voter ID law, because how is it that a gun license is good enough, but a college ID is not? That's wrong. That's damn wrong. And that is why I've been fighting for those things every day. I worked for the most successful progressive Democrat, I believe, in United States history, Ted Kennedy. And he taught me a lot. Progressives must have passion. Progressives must partner. And progressives must understand that idealism and pragmatism are not mutually exclusive. And over the last 8 years, I've had the privilege of working for what I believe will be, history will judge as one of the most consequential presidents in American history, Barack Obama. And I firmly believe that. And you know what? We had an opportunity to make a difference, and we did. Whether it was fighting all those states like Arizona, passing those immigration laws, whether it was going after police departments like Joe Arpaio, and we did a lot of that. And at the Labor Department, working with our brothers and sisters in the union movement, had the privilege of working with the CWA when we settled the Verizon strike, the West Coast ports. This is about results, my friends. And you know what though, folks? What you may not know about me is I cut my roots in local government, in local community organizing. Google Casa, Maryland. When I started working on the board of Casa, Maryland, it was in the basement of a church. Now we're 11 million people strong, $11 million budget. We're in the Mid-Atlantic, and we're helping immigrants. We're not only providing them fish, we're teaching them how to fish. And what I learned is that we need to organize. That's what I learned from that experience. That's what I learned from my experiences in local government. And what I have learned from my experiences in recent weeks listening and learning from you is that the Democratic Party in Washington doesn't do enough listening. We need to build a party that works in every single state. You did remarkable things. The first African-American female sheriff in Texas, the registrar in Harris County. What you have done to build this party in this state is amazing. And you didn't get no help from Washington. Imagine what we can do with a DNC chair who has a big table, who understands that we all succeed only when we all succeed. That is my vision. That is my commitment to you, that we will work together. You will be an equal party. Because you know what? I think the Democratic Party is a complex organization. And I think the leader of the Democratic Party must have a significant amount of demonstrated success in leading complex organizations. The Department of Labor is 16,000 employees, $45 billion budget. We got a headquarters staff. We got folks in the field. A lot of times the headquarters staff, you think the folks in the field are cowboys. The folks in the field think the headquarters staff doesn't know what they're doing. Does that sound familiar? Nobody has listened to you. We were able to go from second to the bottom on employee satisfaction when I arrived to the top third in results announced just 2 days ago. Because you know what? I'm not afraid to admit to you that I have seldom had an original idea in my life. But you know what? I pride myself in being a good listener. And here's what I've learned from my listening so far. Texas can no longer be an ATM machine for the Democratic Party. Here's what else I've learned. We got to keep suing states like Texas and North Carolina that do nefarious things. But don't fool yourselves, folks. Just suing them is not enough. Because I know your state districts. If you look at the lawsuit, you've got districts in Texas right now that have 65% citizen age voting of Latinos, and we still can't elect people. So we've not only got to sue, we've got to organize. And that's the commitment you have from me. We will work together. We will work together to build an America that works for everyone. We'll fight Donald Trump when we have to, but we will also articulate that message of inclusion and opportunity, that universal message that works in rural America, in urban America, across the United States of America. That's why I'm in this race, folks. We gotta stop fretting, we gotta start fighting, and that's why I'm in. Thank you very much.
So much to all four candidates. Give them all a big hand for the great work. We're fortunate to have such qualified and passionate candidates wanting to run our national party.